I love telling these stories, and it's recorded and video. So let's begin. Let me pray. Father, thank you for what you're doing, and we would not be leaning on our own understanding. We would trust you with all of our hearts. With all of our hearts, we would trust you. We commit our ways to you. We acknowledge you. Thank you for moving and speaking. And I give this time period, Lord. And I bless those here and those who will watch. In Jesus' name, amen. So this is a prophetic update to the now extending series, The Prophetic History and Calling of New Covenant Fellowship. You obviously are aware that the immediate goal is a mission trip to Russia this summer, scheduled for the 28th of July, an 8-day trip. And it's the intention of that trip to be available to God to launch a global impacting, end-time impacting revival that will impact the entire world. I believe it was God's intention for us to do this from day one of existing as a local church. I believe it was His intention from day one that we be a local congregation. But a local congregation that was assignment-based and was called to be a forerunner. And I believe the greatest expression of that forerunning will take place in Russia this summer. So part of my intentions in going through this information is to communicate what I see the Lord has done. It's also to give people an opportunity to hear for themselves the information. And you can make your own decision as led from the Lord. Do you believe the conclusions that I am drawing are the conclusions that you would draw? Do you believe they're such that you would be willing to invest the time and resources to make such a trip? And your friends. And many of you have a strong revelatory base. And I would expect that if in the course of this you come to the conclusion, Russ, I really think you're wrong in how you're putting this all together, that it's a way of checks and balances, so to speak, that you can help in the course that I'm on. I am a pastor. We are not infallible. So this is the beginning of a new year. And as we moved into the new year, I had such an interest of, God, this is of such magnitude. That confirmations were so important. And what I'm asking people to do is so vulnerable. I'm willing to take every single step I'm asking them to take. It's one thing to lead, it's another one to agree to be a follower and someone else is leading. So, I've entitled this as a prophetic history update. It's part 3. Today is January 17, 2016. I hope I can put this together in such a fashion that it's clear. These are extremely exciting things. Putting them all together. There's one stunner. There are many things that are the accumulative weight of them So I stand before you extremely encouraged, extremely feeling so confirmed. So I'm glad to tell the story. It has begun. I wanted to, just for record's sake, I wanted to get this video again. I showed this morning, but I want it to be on this tape. So this is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. This takes with it some of the symbols, some of the pictures from the hourglass. Obviously comes from Bonnie Jones's prophecy that was in August of 2015, that it had the sands of time, saw it turned over, it has begun. That's where the phrase "it has begun" has come from. And that we're moving into the end time harvest, the ending harvest. So it came to me to produce this. So if you could show that again, please. Not again. Though I love the music. Can any of you guess who the hand is? Timothy Schutz. Good job, Timothy. It has begun. So, the beginning of the new year. Again, I want to tell the story and then tell the consequences. So briefly, the story. As the year began, New Year's Eve was a Thursday night. My wife's mother had been in the hospital Sunday through Thursday, came home Thursday afternoon. We were all very tired. Faye went to bed. My wife went to bed, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Mom, her mother, went to bed even earlier than that, so nobody else was in the house. So it wasn't going to be a very joyful New Year's Eve. And I was still up. It was about 10 minutes till 11, and I heard the very faintest whisper in my thinking of what I've come to recognize as the Lord's voice, but it wasn't strong. It was a very thin, it was thin, wispy. It was just the littlest. And it was this thought: why don't you spend the last hour of 2015 praying in tongues and enter the new year praying in the Spirit? And I explained this morning when I shared that I'm disappointed, surprised, disappointed, apologetic as a pastor. That was a difficult decision for me to make during that 10 minutes of bandering back and forth in my thinking. I don't know if I want to do that or not. And I've explained, I don't know. In the last 2 years, 3 years, probably I've prayed an hour in tongues. I don't know, 300 times easily. It was not an accomplishment by any stretch of the imagination. It was normal. I normally pray an hour in the Spirit when I pray in the Spirit. It was, I don't know why. Disappointed it was such a struggle. I did it. When 11 o'clock started, I started praying in the Spirit, went to 12:01, 12:02. During that process, I felt like I heard this slightest hint, you need to do this all year. That was really, if I thought just praying the last hour of the year was stretching, which there was nothing stretching about it, all year, an hour each night, that's stretching for me. For me, that's stretching. Wow. During that first hour, about halfway through, probably one of the most monumental things that has happened to me in the list of 10, and I've had so many. I have such a treasury of God's works. One of them is a portion of a staff that was returned to me after being gone many years, from 2006 to 2015. So however long that is, 10, 13 years, that had on it the bottom part of Isaiah 45, verses 1, 2, and 3, where God said, I will give you, speaking to Cyrus, he said, I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that you may know that I, the Lord, who calls you by your name, am the God of Israel. And in this Russian outreach, that in order to fulfill the prophecy that I became aware of more than 10 years ago now, that there is a sound that has to be made. And I'm from East Tennessee, so I call it a thang. There's a thang. There's an object that makes a sound. And that object, that sound, is a very integral part of the fulfillment of the prophecy that we're going to Russia to be available to be there as that prophecy is fulfilled and to call for it. And I have known and have shared on different occasions the thang that makes that sound was taken. It was actually prophesied that it was going to be taken. It was prophesied maybe 70 years in advance it would be taken. And then it was prophesied it would be gone nearly 70 more years. And then it would be returned. And it would have to make its sound. And at the first sound, resounding of that thang, an event would take place that would launch a global awakening. I've labored over that. God, where's that thing? I think it's my responsibility to find it. But you said to Cyrus, and supernaturally returned to me that verse, you said, I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places. So what came to me during that first time at the very end of the year, I'm going to take that verse, and on my phone, YouVerse has many translations, 30, 40 different translations. I'll just take each one at a time, and I'll pray through it in the Spirit for about 30 minutes. I'll read it phrase by phrase, and then just pray into it phrase by phrase. When I finish verse 3, then I'll go to the next translation, just follow them all down. That was delightful. It took, maybe 4 days to make it through. It was very meaningful. Over and over, God, where is the thing? Where is it? I mean, it could have been destroyed. It could have been at the bottom of a lake. It could be in a military installation that there is no access to. Where is the thing? Over and over, God, where is the thing? You gave me this verse, warring with the verse. You gave it to me. So I did that the very first night. The next day, which would have been New Year's Day, Otis called me, texted me. I didn't have my phone with me. I left it in the bedroom, and he said, Yvonne and I are thinking about going and praying in the sanctuary for a time period, and do you want to go? Well, I didn't even see it till late in the afternoon, so I texted him back. I assumed, well, they've already gone. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. During the afternoon, before I got that text, Faye and I were watching a football game, New Year's Day, and on our television came an ad that we've never seen one before and haven't seen one since, but it was only New Year's Day. We're on the 16th or 17th of January. But we've had Comcast for 15 years. We've never seen it. It was advertising the movie War Room. I've heard so many wonderful things about War Room, and Faye said, look, they're advertising War Room. We can rent it for 2 days for, I don't know, $3, something like that. I said, rent it. Click the button. We'll get to see it. We have a nice TV that's bright, so it'll be great. So Yvonne wasn't able to come, so we came to the church, and I told Otis this story that I'm telling you. And somewhere in our conversation, he said, well, how are you viewing me calling you, texting you, asking you to come? Well, it's kind of a confirmation. I'm looking for confirmations. I do want to do what God's directing me to do. This one's a biggie from my perspective. For me, following through. So I'll see. And then during the course of the hour, he and I spent an hour in here. In the course of the hour, I thought, hey, I've got that movie. You haven't seen it yet. We only, rented it. It was good for 48 hours. So on the way home, I said, hey, have you ever seen the movie War Room? No. He said, but I really want to. I said, well, we rented it today. I don't know if I went through the whole story. We rented it, and you want to go and watch it before you go home? Nah, it's kind of late. Well, maybe you can call Yvonne. She can come. Nah, it's too late at night. I think it was around 9 o'clock. So I said, well, maybe we can invite you over tomorrow night. Faye and I, we haven't seen it. I want to see it. I've heard so many wonderful things about it. And we'll, come for a light supper and a movie. We'll have a supper, a dinner, and a movie. So they did. And I told him on the way home, how do you take this, me calling you, coming to the church? Well, I take it as a confirmation. I said, but wow, this is such a big decision. I'm looking for another confirmation or 2 or 3, the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. And I didn't realize that God had already given me another confirmation in that movie ad that I've never seen any movie, any video advertised like that ever. Never. Not one time. I've never seen it. So I decided, okay, God, I'm looking for another confirmation. The movie was terrific. I urge all of you to see it. When I say I wept all the way through it, I don't mean tears, pouring down, snot out of my nose type crying. I meant just tears in my eyes, so moved by it. It was so well done. It was speaking to me. So I decided, okay. So that was the New Year's Day. So I just went after it. So I have put here just some notes so I can stay on task. Pray for an hour. Thursday, the thang. Go to church and pray Friday. War Room ad Friday. Saw War Room on Saturday, Faye and I and Otis and Yvonne. Prayed an hour nightly all week. Okay? And all week I was the thang. Lord, where is the thang? You've made a promise to me that's as stunning a way to give a promise through the return of the stick after 12, 13 years. And all I know to do is pray into it and say, I need it. I cannot lead a team without knowing where the thang is. I just can't do it. So I prayed nightly all week, so let me see, the week ended on Wednesday, so it was the first week was from Thursday night to Wednesday night, 7 full days. Thursday, that next day, was a half a day of work because there was a planned pastor staff planning retreat where we went away to Sevierville, and we had supper. Supper Thursday evening was the first gathering of it, and it was Thursday, all day Friday, and Saturday morning. So I was at the church Thursday morning preparing to go to this retreat, and I checked my computer downstairs in my office just before I left, and there was an email from Jim Oxendine. Jim Oxendine is a member of this congregation. He's a friend. He's involved in ministry and all over the world now. And Jim spent many years, he and his wife, in Russia. And I need help. I need people who speak Russian. Jim doesn't speak Russian, but he knows many Russians. He knows many pastors. He knows people who could help. He has seen some of these prophetic videos, and so he was up here in Knoxville, and he asked me about 3 weeks before the end of the year, approximately. And he said, Pastor, what is it you're going to do in Russia? I explained to him what it is that we're going to do. And he said, I know a guy in Russia who can help you. He said, what I want you to do, is type a letter and kind of make it look like it was from me, because I don't even know what to ask, Jim said. So you write the letter like it's me asking, and then I'll sign it and I'll send it on to him. I said, I can do that. So about 3 weeks before the end of the year, I sent that letter on to Jim. I didn't hear back from him. And then on what amounted to the 8th day, Thursday, of the staff retreat, planning retreat, was the 8th day because it started on a Thursday. And I have this letter from Jim Oxendine, and all it is an email link. I think you'll be interested in this. That was it. The email link was to a prophetic word that a young man, Chris Vallotton from Redding, California, had said about Russia and what was going to take place in Russia this year. And Jim was aware of where I'm going, and he said, I think this will encourage you. And I have two things that in addition to the thing that I'm searching for, I have two things that are very important to me, is that, God, this is what you're saying. That you're saying this, and you are speaking it to New Covenant Fellowship in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's not just the body of Christ at large. It's something you are speaking to us. Because if I'm convinced of that, I will try and influence people in that way. If I'm not convinced of it, then I can't. I can just say, I think, it seems like. So I read it, and this is the word. So this was this word. This is Chris Vallotton from Redding, California. I saw a great reformation flowing through the entire country of Russia. It began in Red Square and flooded the nation with a spiritual awakening that is unprecedented in modern history. Every city was filled with joy and prosperity. The righteous reigned in the land, and a Jesus movement that will touch the entire world will be birthed in the universities beginning in Moscow. Chris Vallotton, Bethel Church, a very recent word for this year. This is a word for this year, what he believes will take place this year. There's so many people prophesying, so many iterations. In our own country, we have people prophesying judgment. We have people prophesying unmitigated judgment. We have people prophesying unmitigated blessing, and everything's going to turn around and everything's looking real bad. across the body of Christ, there are so many. So it is for the prophecies regarding Russia. There's many iterations. That was really encouraging to me. So I sent Jim back an email and said, I got it, I read it. He actually prophesied about America, about Russia, and the interaction between Russia and Israel. All of them were very, very, very favorable. I sent Jim back an email and said, I got it, I watched it, it was encouraging. I'm getting ready to go on a planning advance. And by the way, did you happen to have a chance to send that email out that I sent you? Did you even get it 3 weeks ago? Did you happen to send it to that guy in Russia? Pastor Russ. So I got an email back from him real quick. And he said, no, I have not sent it on. He's been out of the country, but he's back in the country. I'm getting ready to go to Houston, I think he said, and I'll send it out right away. I said, okay. So I left and I go home. And Jim Oxendine's first email, that's the first day, that's the 8th day, that was Thursday. Jim Oxendine's second email, no, I didn't send it yet, but I'll send it. Okay. So I go home, I take a nap, I've got an hour left, I pack. I kind of throw things in a suitcase at the last minute. Some of you pack weeks in advance. I pack an hour in advance. So I pack my suitcase, and I've got about a half hour to go, and my phone rings, and it's Jim. And he said, did God take note? He asked me to pray in the Spirit every night. Was it accomplished? And I was asking for, where is the thing? So Jim calls and he said, hey, did you get my 2 emails? Yeah, I did. I got them at the church. The first was about Chris Vallotton, and the second was, no, you didn't send the letter on, but you're going to. So this is just a few hours later, maybe 3 at the most, more like 2 hours. He said, no, I've sent you 2 more. Really? Yeah, I've already heard from my contact in Russia. He said, the thing has been found. I said, what? For almost 6 months, that's been one of my prayers. The thing, Lord, the thing. Where is it? It's been found? There are many Russian articles that talk about it. And he just searched, because he's Russian, he just searched Russian articles. I only search English articles. And clear as a bell, there was one, it was found back in 2012. I think, this is astounding. God, did you respond to 7 days of praying in the Spirit? Is this what's going on? I said, God, that Chris Vallotton prophecy, that was good. It was good. I love to hear that this year, that it's the conclusion I feel God's led me to is this is the year it's going to happen. Sort of been on the books for almost 200 years. And this is the year it's going to take place. So I love to see confirming words about Russia, current words. And God, is there a second confirmation just to help my heart? And Tanya Rich, in one of the conversations that we had at the advance, said, I've spoken to Amanda recently, or she contacted me, and she reminded me of a prophecy that she got this long time ago, 2005, somewhere in that range, at a Todd Bentley conference at Lionheart, that he prophesied over her in Russia. I said, no. Well, yeah, I vaguely remember that. She was talking to me about it, really. So I decided I would contact Amanda. And so I did. I call Amanda, and I understand that Todd Bentley prophesied over you and about Russia back in 2005-ish at Lionheart Ministries. Is that right? And she's laughing at me on the other end in Ukraine. She's in Ukraine. And she says, Pastor Russ, you're the one who transcribed the prophecies from the DVD. You watched the DVD. You were actually there. You watched the DVD. You sent the transcriptions of the prophecies to me. I'll be glad to send you an email copy of what you sent to me back in 2005. I said, oh, okay. Memory slips a little bit here. And so here's what it is. This is a copy of the email. I think she was playing with me. This is a copy of the email sent to me by Pastor Russ. He transcribed the prophecy that I received at the Todd Bentley conference on April the 29th, 2005, when Todd Bentley said to ask for our inheritance. I was there at the meeting. I borrowed a copy of the DVD of the meeting. That's what I transcribed. I was there for us to ask for our inheritance. I asked God for the lost. This is Amanda Rich. Then I felt God said, ask for Russia. So if God tells you ask for something in particular, if He initiates it, ask for it. I said, God, I ask you for Russia. And immediately, Todd Bentley began prophesying about Russia. Then I busted out in an intercessory type of crying and went forward when Todd Bentley, said to. As he prayed for me, I fell down in the Spirit and manifested. I had not felt that way in many, many years. I know now, definitely, that God has called me as a missionary to Russia. Amanda. John Cope loaned me the copy of that DVD. And so, just before he started the Russia word, he said the following kinds of things. These are all my transcription. What do you want me to do for you? Those of you who will, ask for great things. Ask Him for something great, something impossible, an invitation. This is what Todd Bentley said back in 2005 in that meeting. Let me prophesy over Russia, Todd Bentley said. Behold, because I saw a few days ago, back in 2005, a gold and diamond train in Russia and Siberia. And for a moment, I thought it was just for the meeting in Canada. But I just saw it now running through in the Spirit in the room, Lionheart. And I said there are Russian-Siberian ties, business ties, investment deals that are involved in the release of money, gold and diamonds, something of that realm. Over somebody here right now, there is a tremendous train. It's interesting, it was the analogy of a train. There is a tremendous train going through Russia and Siberia, and somebody is called to that, and I am supposed to pray over you. So if that's you, I want you to come down here and quick and get on the diamond and gold train to Russia and Siberia. There is a real strong word of the Lord right now running through Russia and Siberia, and that it's coming into revival. This is 2005. Major revival, and God is beginning to call people around the world to Russia. I'm telling you, there's a few missionaries, few evangelists that I've met that feel a real burden for Russia. But God told me He's beginning to look for men and women that He is calling to unto the revival train that He is calling to Russia. It's running through Russia and Siberia back in 2005, but it's not gold and diamonds, business, wealth, and money, so that there is a real connection here for finances being released out of Russia. Get ready. You are going to hear of some business deals and money deals in Russia and Siberia, something to do not just with gold and diamonds, but that's just the train I see. It may be spiritually speaking, but definitely it's having a lot of goods. To John Cope and Amanda Rich, Get a little closer here. Okay, he thought they were father and daughter initially. Okay, you're father and daughter. You're friends. You go to the same church. Do you feel that same call? 3 cities, 28 cities. So to John Cope, he said, boom. I can't do it the way he did it. Inheritance. God's going to give you an inheritance, Russian inheritance, all over the north. To Amanda, Rich, Lord, release it to her right now. Tremendous church planter, revivalist, missionary. Send her up there with healing gifts and with power gifts. Boom, bah. Again, that's terrible compared to what he did. Inheritance for Russia. The gold and the diamond train. Choo-choo, all aboard. Fascinating that he used the train analogy. So Amanda, in our chatting with one another, said, I'll send it to you, which she did. I read what she sent to me. And she said, it's really strange that you should mention, and I'm asking God for another confirmation about what he's doing in Russia, that this year is the year that it's going on. And you should mention Todd Bentley because he's in Russia right now. And he's doing a conference in southern Russia. Really? So he is, yeah. And it's in the town of, she named the town, and it's in southern Russia. I thought maybe it's the town we're going to. It's not, but a town in southern Russia. And she said, I'm going to send you a video link of his first meeting in this conference in southern Russia that's going on right now. He first went to St. Petersburg and then down to this place. I said, okay. So she does. And in his conference, he talks about God gave him a word in California about Russia. So this is from the web. This is Todd's current. This past August, during a 30-day Fresno, California fire revival, I had an amazing, this August, our pivotal August. I had an amazing experience in the Lord. During a service, I fell into a trance and was carried in the Spirit to St. Petersburg Square in Russia. I was prophesying, this was in his vision, and declaring to government, revival is here and now, and saw a great fire burning there that even reached into Finland. I saw with my open eye a tsunami revival wave of God's glory and power come over the map of all of Russia. Small, remote Arctic villages caught fire the quickest. I don't know why. I knew there were over 500 fires burning with the fire of God in remote villages. I saw one of the greatest fires of revival come out of Russia and go into Eastern Europe, and it reached into the Middle East and even the Koreas. And I came out of the public trance experience in California, and I said in the meeting with about 500 people present, is there anybody here that's going to Russia? The Lord spoke to me that there would be one person in the meeting, a prophetic sign that it was the time for Russia to open fully for revival. Of course, one woman came forward and stood in the gap, and we prayed for until the prophetic experience that I had so great a desire to visit Russia, but now I know, this is Todd Bentley speaking, I know it is a Macedonian call. I saw the blood and the banner flying over Russia, called out, our God reigns, your kingdom come. Todd Bentley, this was back in August of this year. That's good. Todd's gone through some difficult times. How do you put all those things into perspective? Every one of us will work that out differently. And I just, that's just interesting. He said, I'll send you a link. The YouTube has his first meeting. Okay, it was a prophetic meeting. Okay, I'll watch it. So I watched it. It's like 28 minutes long. And in it, he made this statement. I'm now coming around to New Covenant. He made this statement. I turned 40. And it's real interesting. I turned 40. And it's been 40 years since Bob Jones had his prophecy, that when he went to heaven, he died and he went to heaven, and Jesus said, I'm going to send you back for 1 billion souls. He said it's been 40 years since that took place. And I thought, I didn't know that. That's interesting. It's been 40 years. since the original billion soul. That was eventually followed up by the $1 million offering at Kansas City, where God said, I'm going to give Noel Alexander $1,000. If he will give that into missions, I'll give Kansas City $1 million offering. If they'll give every bit of that into missions, I'll give them immediately 1 million souls, and I will eventually give them 1 billion soul harvest. It came out of that $1 million offering. But this is the word that preceded that. This is when he died. And I thought, when was that? I ought to know. So I decided I would go on the web, because I just didn't remember. I would go on the web and I'd go on to Google and I would just type in Bob Jones death experience and just see what pops up, because I'm sure I'll be able to find the date of it, just because I just like to do that. And the first thing that popped up was a Patricia King broadcast of the Extreme Prophetic, and this was, back in 2007, I think, version, and she had a Bob Jones video, and Bob was telling the story again when he died, and when he met Jesus, and Jesus said, I want you to go back, not for 1 soul, but for 1 billion soul harvest. Are you willing to do that? And he said that he was. And the date, I have it up there, it was August the 8th, 1975. It was at 3 p.m. He was up in heaven a long time, and he noted the time when he went up, and he's written a book, or a book has been written, and he testified before he died that he got back at 3 p.m. So no time elapsed in our realm. Well, he was a long time in heaven, saw lots of things, had conversation, so on. That's just interesting to me. I said, August the 8th? Boy, that's August the 8th was of 1975 is when he had it. That means 40 years, because Todd Bentley was talking about 40 years have transpired. That means 40 years would be August the 7th, 2015. Just like a year goes from January 1 to December 31st, you don't come back to January 1 again. That means the 40 years, the first 40 years since the vision of his experience of going to heaven. So now, when did the prophetic series begin at New Covenant? Because there was something that just really caught my attention. And that is Patricia King, before she started showing the Bob Jones video. So I'm just watching this. I'm just searching for when this event took place. What was the date? I thought it was in January or so on. And she said, I've jumped ahead a little bit. It was a 2007 episode of the Extreme Prophetic. It was Pat King, Bob Jones' death experience with the billion soul harvest. And she said, you are going to be intrigued by a particular prophetic word. So this is Patricia King introducing. I'm just searching so I can get the date. Particular prophetic word he has that is going to give us great hope for the days ahead, because there's a great harvest of souls coming in, and it's going to be amazing, and it is going to take all hands on deck, believe me. And I'm watching, I said, what did she say? It's going to take all hands on deck? Again, this was done back in 2007, you understand? And it was going to show Bob telling this. It's going to take all hands on deck. I think I do more. But that's a New Covenant phrase. All hands on deck. And he tells the story. There's three parts, part 1, 2, and 3. And I see sandwiched together. I'm coming back here. I've put how it's sandwiched together. August the 8th, 1975, 3 p.m., to August the 7th, 2015, that's 40 years. Time in the wilderness, they stepped into the promised land, 40, very key number, very important number. We have had two very important 40s at New Covenant, that being the 40-day fast 2011. 40 days later, I fell on my head. All that stuff took place on our property. Now, 40 years had gone by when that prophecy was given about the billion-soul harvest. And I have put here, August the 7th was the completion of the 40 years. August the 8th in 2015 was a Saturday. It was on that. So that's the beginning of the new year. Or the 40-year cycle has ended and a new 40-year cycle is beginning. And I think this way, that was August the 8th. That was a Saturday. It was on Saturday that I made the decision, because I initially announced I'm going to do the prophetic series on Sunday nights, but I'm going to do this first one because it had to do with the start date. And I became convinced God issued us an induction notice on the start date of New Covenant, and He dictated what the day was we were actually going to start as a congregation, because it had to do with global end-time harvest, though we didn't have a clue at that point in time. I, as much more so than anybody else in the room, we didn't have a clue. And December the 9th, August the 9th, 2015, that's when the series began. And that morning, but I made the decision on the first day when the 40 days were over. I didn't know that. Now, for some people, their response is, so what? What difference does that make? And I want to say, God's trying to, it's all going to be by faith, but He's trying to let you know by linkages, these are linked together. Don't miss it. That was one of the most profound Sundays, because the next day I put August the 10th, which was Monday last year, 2015, when on the Elijah list, they republished the Bob Jones Sands of Time vision that happened in 79. How many years as that, 2015? I had people come to me, why did you start the series on that? Did you know they were going to do that? No, I didn't know that. I didn't start the series on that day. It just was, before I went on vacation, and on vacation, the Culvers were there, and I told the stories, and I decided, I'm going to tell all the stories. And I'm going to do it on Sunday night, because I've caused lots of trouble through the years talking about missions and prophetic things too much on Sunday mornings. So I'm going to do it on Sunday night. But I made the decision on that Saturday, this is such a biggie. This involves everybody. But what I didn't know in August of 2015, when this prophetic series began, that it had been 40 years to the day the decision was made, that I made the decision. This is congregational. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. I do care what happens, but I don't care. And the two most prevalent, significant prophecies that we know of that Bob Jones had about the harvest were the initial one when he died and went to heaven and he came back. And it was 40 years. And when that 40 years completed, the next day, the first day of the new, is when I made the decision, this is congregational. I'm going to do this on Sunday morning. I will pay the consequences. I don't care. And when the day after is this confirmation, I'm trying to say, I'm pushing this point. Because I think you need confirmation. And the place on the web where I found out the idea that when the actual birth date was, is in front of it, the host says, this is an all hands on deck thing. And I'm thinking, God. So August the 16th, 2015, that was a week later, that was the train whistle. That's when Jim Oxendine was here. His son had died. I was trying to encourage him, letting him know it's your calling to missions is part of the global calling that God's given to this congregation. And I played that. Bonnie Jones did a video, a backyard video of the thing, and there's a train in their backyard or edge of their property. There's a train crossing, and you heard it, and I heard it, and it was the time period, and it meant in the Morse code, it meant the letter Q, as Bobby Lee and the congregation that day said, and we're waiting for the Q. We're waiting for that cue to come. That was such a pivotal day. And then I discovered, in a confirmation from a man that God is using, and he said, as one of the things he said, I have so many friends that they're all wanting to come to Russia because there's things going to happen in Russia, and they're wanting to come. He referenced Chris Vallotton as one of them. He said, I have many friends that they're all planning to come to Russia. It's like, God, there's a lot of attention in Russia. Of course. This is a big deal. So I've done this. It was the 2007 episode. This is where she said that. August the 16th, the train, an encouraging words from Amanda. So if you ask me, do I think praying in tongues an hour at night has been worth it? Are you kidding? I didn't know that when I started. It wasn't a grand and glorious start, but I'm going to do this. I pray in tongues. I believe in praying in tongues. It was, I don't know if I want to do this. It's 11 o'clock, just about 11 o'clock at night, Faye's in bed. We were going to drink some sparkling grape juice, and celebrate the new year. This is just not what I had planned. I am so glad I did. So I asked Amanda, because she started telling me about all the things that are going on in Russia and Ukraine and Russian-speaking countries. Are you encouraged? Yeah, she's encouraged. So she has given us about a 5-minute message. She sent this to me this morning. So, here we go, please.
Hi, this is Amanda Rich. I'm doing this video from Kiev, Ukraine, and this is for New Covenant. Pastor Russ asked me to just give you guys a little update on kind of some feelings that I have when I look at different things going on in the Russian-speaking nations right now concerning the readiness for God to do something big here. For one, as you know, there's been the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the financial crisis that resulted in that. And that has caused several things to happen. For one, it's caused just this reality of, hey, we need God to move. It's also caused a lot of division as well among the churches. And it's caused some to be divided, and it's caused some to be united and to seek for God to unite the churches together. And last year, there was a big movement of evangelists among the Lausanne movement, which is a part of Billy Graham. They decided to come to Ukraine and spend the whole year doing evangelistic movements in Ukraine, and so there were a lot of different bishops and pastors meeting together for that. Now the bishops and pastors in Ukraine are getting together, and they're going to have Global Prayer for Revival Ukraine in February, and all the pastors and bishops are gathering together, and they're calling for all of the churches in all of the regions of Ukraine, oblasts, which are like states, to get together and pray in February. It's the 17th through the 20th of February, and our ministry is going to be broadcasting that live. Also, there were a lot of bishops from Russia, about 30 pastors and bishops from Russia, who are just currently at IHOP in Kansas City for the One Thing conference, and they were representing the Pentecostals, Baptists, and evangelicals churches in Russia, over 2,000 churches, even more than that actually, and they were saying that they want to dedicate themselves to spreading the prayer movement. Also, last summer, we had a big conference with Mike Bickle, Alan Hood, and a lot of the leaders from IHOP, where we reached over 200,000 people just with our social sites actually engaged in that, and over 2,500 people engaged with the actual program. Then also among the Hebrew Messianic Jews, they've been having retreats where they have 3 or 4 retreats a year with week-long retreats, and God's just been really showing up with that. Right now, I just recently met with some people from Belarus, ministers from Belarus. They are mobilizing camps for youth and young adults. God is really showing up in that. Also in the far east of Russia, in Kazakhstan, there's been a move of prayer for Central Asia. They're already celebrating 10 years of that, and they've been praying constantly for prayer in Central Asia, which is mostly Muslim nations, but they're parts of the former Soviet Union, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and there's many pastors and leaders from Uzbekistan, Armenia, and Kazakhstan, and those different places who God is just really moving on right now. There's just this overall general sense that God is doing something here, that He's about to move. There's been several different prophetic voices, including Chris Volatin from Reading, who have just, and others who have just recently gone to Russia for the first time and have said that there's just something going on there. And a lot of my different friends have been saying that a lot of the pastors and leaders in Russia and in Ukraine and in different parts of the former Soviet Union are just saying that there's just this general feeling that God is about to do something big, and they're all at a point where we just really need God to do something big, because they're reaching that crisis point of, God, we need you. And at the same time, I say all of that, and I also say that we're all humans, and there's the human dynamic that plays in, there's the disunity, there's the politics, there's all the stuff. And so continue to pray for unity among the churches, unity among the different denominations. There's also Orthodox and Catholics and Protestants, and they're all beginning to work together. And so I just wanted to give you guys a quick update, and thank you for your prayers, and keep praying, and we are believing. Oh, and a lot of those prophetic voices who have been over there have been referring to Bob Jones's prophetic words, so it's really cool. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you for your prayers and support. Bye.